and gentlemen, what's the most pointless TV show you've watched lately? I know what mine is. You know what the show is. It's Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish things for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer. With me, as always, is my co-host, Tim Keck. And joining us today is our friend, our favorite Star Wars aficionado, Mr. Spencer Pazer. Spencer, as always, thank you for coming back.
Oh, what a joy. What a joy to be here.
You are so pissed off.
You know what? No, of course you are trying to get me there, but I'm not going to be as much of an apologist as you might expect, but I will defend. So let's dig into this.
Okay. All right. Well, as you may have surmised, today we're talking about Obi Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus. And even though I've come out hot against the show in the very beginning of the episode, I didn't hate this. You know, I thought it was enjoyable to watch. I don't think any of these other Disney Plus shows have lived up to the heights of The Mandalorian. I don't know. Am I wrong here?
This show was hard to get through at times, ultimately pointless, and doesn't contribute to the Star Wars mythos in any way. It's useless would be too strong a word. It doesn't contribute anything to society, to anything. I mean, this is like, I couldn't think of a bigger waste of time if you gave me days and months and years to just sit and poke at this thing. We got to see Leia as a kid, which was sucked. And then we got to see what? More of the same cultures we've seen. Wow, we got to see Obi-Wan be sad over Darth Vader. Boy, we haven't seen that before. Wow, we got to see that Anakin Skywalker is sad. So that was interesting. And then we saw like a lightsaber fight that wasn't great. And then we saw another lightsaber fight that wasn't great. And then we saw a better lightsaber fight that didn't really make any sense at all. There was no logic in any of it. And then the show ended, and I guess they met each other, which was nice. And I guess I'm just left asking, how much money do you need, Disney? How much of our money will be enough for you to just let things die the way they need to be left alone? Why can't good things just end? You know, just put out the album and walk away. You don't need to make music anymore. You know, just let Star Wars be. Just go away. Just stop doing this to us. Just what a waste of time this was. What an absolute brutal waste of time.
You enjoyed that. You enjoyed nothing. Not a single bit.
What was there to enjoy? Name one thing worth enjoying in this. Name one thing that was good. Name one positive thing that came from this.
I thought.
Name one.
I'm trying. No, I thought. Listen, of course, we knew this was going to deal with themes and stories that we were already well aware of and had colored with our imaginations over the years. So for many people, this was going to be a disappointment for the fact that there are so many angry, like shitty dudes out there that think everything should be the way they think it is. And for the general, like, younger Star Wars fan, let's be honest, it's not geared towards us. It is geared towards our money, but it's not geared towards our imaginations. It's geared towards like kids that have just gotten into Star Wars. Like, think if you were like 12 or 13 right now and you could catch up on everything Star Wars at that age, you would be fucking psyched that all this shit was coming out now.
Why did we need this though?
You wouldn't.
Like, give me one thing we're supposed to take away from this. Like, name one thing after watching Kenobi that you're like, wow, I learned this. Wow, you know what? The Star Wars lore is better because of this. Oh, wow, you know, this really flushed out this. Like, what? Anything. There's nothing.
No, all right.
Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship, we've got it already. We had it. We knew it. The fifth sister stuff, who gives a shit? They introduced a character that I've never seen before and has no other relevance to anything. I mean, it's really just all absolute garbage. And it's frustrating because I think it could have been okay. I think there was a way in which this is good, and they didn't make it good. They made it bad. And nothing in this is good. There's no stakes because you know what's going to happen. You know, everybody survives. It's like, what a waste. It's just such a waste of everyone's time and energy, which sucks because Ewan McGregor is the fucking man. I love him. I love Kenobi. I think it's awesome. They rolled Hayden Christensen out of retirement, whatever the fuck he's been doing, to come on screen. And that was cool. But it's just, what a bummer. Just what a lame ass thing to do.
You got no joy.
Obi Wan
You got
Kenobi.
zero joy from this experience.
I gotta say, I had zero joy. This was a joyless experience for me.
Oh my God.
My life is actively worse having seen this. It sucks. Like, maybe the best thing in this is the fights. Like, the lightsaber fights are cool. They make no goddamn sense.
Well, how not? Okay, explain.
The big finale.
How do they not make
the
sense?
big finale is Darth Vader and Obi-Wan fighting each other. Darth Vader has been like, I have to end Obi-Wan Kenobi. I am not going to rest until he's dead in the ground. And we all know this isn't going to happen. There's already zero tension in this because we know it doesn't happen in this series. So right away, the stakes are non-existent. And so when they fight, what happens? He ends up burying him in rocks using cool new force powers we've never seen Darth Vader use, which is fine, whatever. But he buries Obi-Wan Kenobi. We haven't seen him do this before. And he buries Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then he just like walks away. And he's like, that's good enough. And he's like, I don't need to see the body. I don't need proof. I know I've been hunting this man across galaxies, but yeah, sure. Throwing a couple rocks at a Jedi, that's enough where I can get back on my spaceship and walk away and be fine. Right?
Well, to be fair, you said that Vader wanted to put him in the ground, and he did put him in the ground.
Yeah, that's fair.
Put him in the ground.
But Tim, you have laid out a veritable feast of complaints about this show. I want to see Spencer start picking away at it.
Okay.
Wait, let me finish this. Let me finish this last thing.
Frame it up. Jesus Christ.
Because just this last point, we're just talking about this fight. This is just me nitpicking the fight, okay? How does the fight end? It ends with Obi-Wan Kenobi, for no reason, overpowering Darth Vader. The more, like, Obi-Wan Kenobi's arc is that he is a better fighter than Anakin Skywalker is. That's what we learned. That's what his arc is in this fight. He beats the shit out of Darth Vader, has the chance to kill him, essentially saving the entire galaxy, doesn't do it. So twice he has the opportunity to save everyone, doesn't take it. He walks away like a coward. And that's what we get out of this. So that's it. That's my do with that what you will. But that whole fight was useless. It set the franchise back. It was just bad. It was all bad. It was bad storytelling. It was awful. And if that's the best thing we got out of this, then who cares? Then this is bad. Then I'm just done with Star Wars, I think. Star Wars is stupid. This is all stupid. They don't care about anything. Show us shiny helmets and let us suck on our thumbs and fucking jerk each other off while we watch droids. I don't know. What do they want from us? This is bullshit. Man, I've got COVID. I'm a little pissed off. I was catching up on this when I was already sick. Maybe that's part of it, but no, I just bad. This all sucked. Spencer, what do you got?
Welcome to the Tim Keck half-hour special. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean,
I could do another hour. I could do another hour, dude. I'm telling you.
I don't fully disagree with your assessment. When I first watched it, I watched the first 2 episodes with Mike and then attended Kevin's birthday party, and we were both. And honestly, watching anything next to Mike is like, that it's going to be critiqued heavily. So we were already like down on it because, let's be honest, the first 2 episodes feature chase scenes in which a grown adults chase a 10-year-old child, and the way that it's shot, it's not even done well enough to make it look convincing through how they figured out how to shoot this show. And that was disappointing. I mean, because you were kind of like, that's what makes me think, oh, this is for children. This is for children. The main character is a child, and it's never gonna be Deadpool Star Wars for us, which is like sort of what I think everybody wants who's been inundated with Star Wars for 30 to 40 years. But and there is the disappointment in like all these situations with characters we know having no stakes because we know who survives and who doesn't till like to continue the story as the saga goes on. But for me, I found that it colored in the relationship between Kenobi and Anakin a little more densely than it in a nice way that leads up to A New Hope, because it kind of they do certain things that dance around like into the equations of like when Obi-Wan really talks to Luke the first time and he says, you know, I knew your father, Darth Vader killed him, and then that whole thing, how that gets like sort of retconned later in like Return of the Jedi with like and how they had described that and when Kenobi is a Force ghost. But at the same time, or so not even, I don't even remember which movie we're talking about, but at the same time, it really like that final battle scene, best lightsaber fight that we've had since the prequels, without a doubt.
No.
Okay. Which one in the sequel saga had a better lightsaber fight than that?
The Red Room is the coolest.
No, disagree.
It's bad, but it's by far the coolest.
It's, by the way, not a lightsaber fight. There's no actual clashing of lightsabers in that fight.
It's the best fight. It's the coolest looking fight in Star Wars. There's a story there. I mean, if you watch it on YouTube, you can break down like how terrible the choreography is.
Sure.
Like there's like guards just throwing themselves across the room for no reason.
Yeah.
But story-wise, I thought that was the best. And honestly, Kevin sent us a great clip of a New Hope. It's better. That scene is better. The original scene in A New Hope is still somehow better. Just from a storytelling standpoint, it's more compelling. I got excited just watching it. I know the point is like, oh, that's dumb and they're just fencing.
Yeah.
But like somehow it's better. It does more for me. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
But I think that this story colored that more densely for me. I mean, I think the prequels like gave us the context for
we had three movies with these guys.
No, of course.
What else? What other context were we missing?
Listen, there's a whole animated series that neither of you have finished watching that also colors context for that story that I would argue does more than the prequels do altogether. But I also feel like, and I think that when you watch the animated series in conjunction, because there are like a lot of animated series Easter eggs throughout these Kenobi episodes for the most part, which like, of course, like the Star Wars, like, the internet nerds, keyed in on and would like highlight in Instagram posts and whatnot. But I don't know, that final scene where he slashes the mask open and there's that whole, I mean, I know it's very basic with the blue light, red light thing, but I mean, I liked it. Ewan McGregor does a great job. Like Hayden Christensen does a great job. Like they really worked that scene. And as dumb as it is, like I loved it when his voice was transitioning between old Anakin and like mechanical Darth as it was fucked up. Like that was kind of a sick effect. Like there was some fun stuff that through the technology gave us better moments. Again, I'm not saying it's the best thing they've ever done.
But does it make any sense that the fight ends like that?
Yes.
No.
100%.
It makes zero sense.
It makes full sense.
Because
Obi-Wan doesn't want to kill
three
Anakin.
prequels.
He never said he wants to kill
I'm just
Anakin.
saying the fact that he bests him by just physically beating the shit out of him makes no sense after having this whole series and all of the prequels establish that Anakin is just like the better fighter. He's the better lightsaber guy. He's a better attacker. He like beats him all the way. No, that's what they had a fight.
That's arguably not the case. That's the exact opposite.
That is the case because they do all these flashbacks.
Yeah, who
where
wins that
Anakin
flashback?
is beating the shit out of Obi-Wan.
Who wins that flashback?
Well, Obi-Wan outsmarts him.
So he's the better
Anakin,
fighter.
What's the theme? Anakin has to win.
Anakin has to win.
So Obi-Wan is able to outsmart him and use that against him. So in the final fight, you're like, oh, Obi-Wan's going to outsmart him. And the brilliant thing that Obi-Wan came up with was being better at lightsaber fighting. And he just beats the shit out of Darth Vader for no reason. He's thinking about those kids and babies. Nothing more inspiring than two 10-year-old brats. And that's all the power he needs to just chop Darth Vader's head off. Nothing in that was set up by the story. There's no outsmarting. It's just who wanted it more, which is not the story they've ever told in Star Wars. So Yeah, it's a bummer. It sucks. It sucks when they like waste our time with this. You're telling a story. They're doing all these flashbacks just to come back to the present and ignore all the lessons they gave us. It's really just like piss poor and disrespectful on their part. Like, I don't know. Am I missing something, Kevin? You've been very silent on this.
Kevin's got to speak up.
Am I missing anything on this?
I mean, I liked it more before you made that last point. I really did enjoy that last scene. I enjoyed the helmet getting slashed open. I could have used a little bit more of this angle, but I do like the premise that Vader considers himself to have killed Anakin. I think that's cool. I think Obi-Wan bearing witness to that in that moment is a compelling character moment. And it does make sense to me that he wouldn't be willing to kill Darth Vader. Kind of, because if you think about their personal relationship, of course, he wouldn't want to kill this person that he's known for a long time. But Vader is saying, Anakin's not here anymore. You cannot save him. Like, that's not something you can do. Obi-Wan is aware of how many people are dying at the hands of the Empire and the fact that Darth Vader is the head of the Empire. And you know, if we'd seen him being a pacifist for the entire rest of the series, I would be able to be like, okay, but he doesn't kill. That's his thing. But he's been fucking killing people. They mowed down so many stormtroopers.
Okay, I have been thinking about this because I really wanted to form this argument because so much of the series and Obi-Wan's character is centered, and why he doesn't just outright kill is because he is like a very to the core Jedi. Like, he was Qui-Gon's apprentice, and no one was more like old school Jedi in the Jedi lore than Qui-Gon. Like, he was the only master who like wasn't on the council. Like, he was hippy dippy Jedi, like old Republic Jedi shit. And Obi-Wan kills stormtroopers and clones and, you know, droids and all that kind of shit throughout the prequels and this, but he never does it as an offensive tactic. It's always in defense. It's always in protection of someone like Leia, or, you know, like the Republic, shall we say, like when he's fighting, when he's fighting, you know, Grievous and all those people. It's always to a means to an end, and he never outright just kills somebody. And I think that's the key difference between the Jedi religion and the Sith is and that's stressed to a point in the prequels. Like, we are not warriors, like we are peacekeepers, and we are being used as generals and like commanders. And it's something that the Clone Wars animated series kind of goes over a lot. It's like how much conflict it is for the Jedi Council and the Jedi community to be utilized as these these war generals because of their skill and ability. And I think Obi-Wan personifies that in a lot of ways. And of course, he's not going to kill Anakin. Anakin is like literally the only man he's probably ever been in love with and closest to. And it's obviously heartbreaking to see what occurs. Not only is he obviously, other than Qui-Gon, like, he is his failed promise to his master in a lot of ways.
Which I can dig. But I do think that may be a situation where this show is held back by the fact that we know exactly what happens next in the story. Because if this was a standalone thing without more franchise behind it, I think the compelling way to end this season would have been Vader saying something like, I will never stop, I will never relent, and him realizing that he has to kill him. Like, that is a defensive tactic to kill him.
Yeah. But what I honestly loved, like, I know, like, it's not perfect. We're not defending perfection here. But what I enjoyed,
bad. Perfect isn't even in the conversation. It's not even within eyesight of perfect.
But I liked what they did, even with, I know, the Emperor and his appearance. I liked even that moment where he tells Darth Vader, he's like, I wonder if this is making you weak. Like, you're like you thinking about Obi-Wan. And he does that, and he like pauses and like takes himself aback a bit. And he's like, and he realizes, like, I am just a fucking slave. Like, I am a slave to my master. And if I don't get in line, like, I am next on the chopping block, just like I am, like everyone else is in line in the Empire or the Sith. Like, and which makes sense for in the future when we meet him. It's like not super concerned, like he's not searching for Obi-Wan, but like he's like, oh, Obi-Wan's on the Death Star, like let me go check this out. But it's not like, I don't know, yeah, something like that. And then to top it off, I did enjoy when Obi-Wan went up to Leia and kind of like was like, I didn't know your parents, but, and then he lays out these characteristics. I thought that was probably the best written moment of the entire, which isn't saying much, but I think that was probably the best moment of the series right there.
Yeah,
I'll go with you on that. So my question for you about the Vader and Obi-Wan relationship is, before we started taping this, I just sent you the lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader from episode 4. And that clip starts with Vader basically saying, "At last, we meet again. It's been so long." Before Kenobi came out, as far as we knew, that was the last time they'd seen each other since Mustafar. So that feels like, what, a 30-year gap, 20-year gap? That feels like a pretty satisfyingly long time. Now, with us finding out that 10 years after Mustafar, they had this massive confrontation, and it's only another 10 years until episode 4, that kind of robs that moment for me.
yes,
It makes it feel like
You think so?
Yeah, it makes it feel like that moment in
Yes.
episode 4 isn't quite as earned, because it's like they've had this confrontation. The last time they saw each other, he already wasn't the apprentice anymore. You know?
That's fair.
yes. It's also, I understand why Obi-Wan wouldn't be able to kill Anakin the first time. The second time, Anakin's dead. He even says, bye, Darth Vader, and he can't kill Darth Vader. You're really gonna... He's had 10 years to think about this. He's had 10 years to think about fighting this guy again. I just can't possibly buy that a guy would let absolute evil like live twice. It's weak to me. It's weak. It's pathetic. It doesn't make any sense. It's plot armor. He doesn't kill him because that's the plot. That's it.
Okay, that's fair.
That digs into one of the other biggest things that I wanted to bring up, which is that in that second 10-year gap between Kenobi and Star Wars Episode 4, Obi-Wan ages 40 years.
Okay, everyone relax about this bullshit.
I think it's fine.
I crunched the numbers. Do you want to hear that?
It's fine. Alec Guinness was 61 when they filmed The New Hope, and that's what 61-year-old men looked like in 1977.
He was a Golden Girl 60.
Yeah, he was a Golden Girl 60. But it doesn't matter how old Ewan McGregor gets; he'll never look like Alec Guinness did when he's 60.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor is going to have
He's
to.
not a Tom Cruise 60.
Exactly. Ewan McGregor is going to have to be under 6 feet under for 10 years before he looks like Alec Guinness did at 61.
It's fucking crazy how good. They should have at least given him like some salt and pepper in his beard. They should have done something to make him look a little bit older. He looks so good.
Listen, he's a very handsome man. You can't put a handsome man down.
By the way, I scaled Alec Guinness's age for inflation based on life expectancy between 1970, 1976 and today. So if you adjust his age accordingly, Alec Guinness is today's 66, which I think he still looks pretty old for.
Hell no, he's not today's 66. Alec Guinness 61 is today's 76.
I'm just saying.
I'll go with
that's
that.
what the numbers say.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be the one time I agree with Spencer.
Think about this. Rudy Giuliani is 78.
And that dude's been evading the Grim Reaper for a decade.
Yeah.
That dude's been knee deep in his own grave for 10 years.
But he also doesn't look. He looks closer to Alec Guinness at 61 than he does to Ewan McGregor at 50. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
God.
He got a pat on the back and he quote unquote almost died. So.
Almost died. Yeah. Oh God.
Oh my God.
All right, well,
Dude is insane.
Well, Tim, you make a lot of good points, and I will be fair in saying that I am desperately trying to justify liking this more because I want to like it.
I want to pitch a rewritables.
You're listening to the Rewritables Podcast with Kevin Bauer and Tim Keck.
They had a handful of scenes where they flashed back to Obi Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, like before the fall of the Empire.
During the Clone War, during his apprenticeship.
Yes. And logic and story writing knowledge of any kind would dictate that would have an influence on the presence, which it did not.
Yes, it did. No, yes, it did.
I think it didn't, because they're like, oh, you're too eager, you're doing all this stuff, and it kind of did, but then he also just beat the crap out of him. It was like there wasn't a direct correlation. There kind of was. There were moments of it, but it's like, I think there is a more compelling story here where I don't like the kids. I don't like Leia and little kid Luke.
Oh.
I think it's dumb that Star Wars is always like, we need little kids around. Maybe it's for kids. I think it also just detracts from the story. Now he has a relationship with these guys that he didn't have a relationship with them in New Hope. It's just too much like in hindsight shit. I don't like it. Why can't he just be going on like other missions, like with other Jedi, and like evading Darth Vader the whole time? And like the story should just be flashbacks with him and like Anakin fighting bad guys and like going on missions, and then cutting back to the present where he's like taking care of stuff and like trying to evade Darth Vader. I guess I'm confused why that wasn't the direction they went. Maybe it's like too complicated. They didn't want to create too much new content or whatever. But like Obi-Wan can't have another mission. There is nothing else that would pull him out of hiding. There isn't anything else he could do. What about just like trying to save a Jedi? What if another Jedi finds him and needs his help with something? Is that something that would be enough of a motivator to do it? It has to be these kids. Like,
well, hopefully, if they do greenlight another season of this, hopefully it will be something like that, in the direction of Obi-Wan feeling reinvigorated to join the rebellion and join the fight to a degree. I mean, by the time he's at A New Hope, that's not the case. But there is obviously a gap and opportunity to tell stories in between where he does meet and lose other Jedi or significant others along the process. It doesn't even need to be Darth Vader as the main villain. It can be like,
it shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be. And if like I said, in the Clone Wars, like they explore, there's a whole storyline with Obi-Wan where you find out that he was in love with someone, and they explore his relationship with this person, and she was a Mandalorian like political figure, and it's like it's a very dense storyline that kind of like colors Obi-Wan's past in a significant way that you wouldn't have thought before, like how he saw like how he characterized love and treated it in regards to the Jedi Order. And I think that there's kind of places to take that in a direction going forward from here, like, because he's sort of this reinvigorated like Jedi at the moment, like, and there are still Jedi out there that obviously we don't see in the sequels or the original 3 that you could presume we don't know what happens to them. They die, but maybe they run into him. They do reference, like when he goes to that first hideout with Tala in that town, when we first encountered Darth, he references a Jedi that had carved stuff onto the wall. And this guy was like this like really like earthy, funky Jedi who like didn't follow the rules, and like he's out there somewhere. Like that could be a character to play with in the future. I don't know. Hopefully, something. I didn't care for fucking O'Shea Jackson's character whatsoever, or his acting ability.
Oh, really? I'm an O'Shea Jackson fan. I like him a lot. But I mean, he wasn't the best part. I mean, they just give like celebrity cameos in these things.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, hey Bill Burr, you want to do 5 minutes?
No, Bill Burr was good in The Mandalorian though.
It's bizarre how deep the bench goes in this show, and none of these people get anything to do. Kumail had the most of anyone, but like they got Maya Erskine in here, and she's doing jack shit. She gets to react to someone dying. That's it.
She's
they bring
great.
in O'Shea Jackson. What's he doing?
Sung Kang is in it. I had no idea.
He's one of the
and we missed we just like lose the other 2 Inquisitors for the rest of the show. That was kind of a bummer.
There's so much more that I want to talk about with this that we haven't gotten to yet. We're heading toward the end of the show. Can I fire off a couple things for you guys real quick?
Yeah, please.
Yes.
First off, I think you can't jump straight to James Earl Jones. It does not make sense to me that it's only 10 years later. They play it off like it's the helmet. Like the helmet is just the reason he has this superimposing voice. I always guess I kind of thought that the helmet was maybe modulating his voice a little bit, but that's just kind of how his voice as a human being became over the years. It feels corny to me that the greatest source of evil in the entire universe is basically using an Optimus Prime voice changer. Like,
yeah, they should have done a scene where like Darth is alone, and he's looking in the mirror and he's tuning his voice box, and it's like his voice is Will Arnett, and then he's like no, and then it's like and then he does it, he tunes it again.
Dolly Parton.
Oh my
Dolly
God.
Parton. Then he tunes it again, and it's Sam Elliott. He's like, no, that's not the right one either. He like tunes it finally.
You just wrote the Robot Chicken Kenobi spinoff. Dude, it's like,
Yeah.
it blows my mind. Tim said that they brought Hayden Christensen back for this show. I mean, kinda. We saw him as young Anakin.
He's
for a
in the
second.
Darth suit, supposedly. Yeah.
He's in the Darth suit, but I mean, fuck, he doesn't get to do any lines. If I was brought out of retirement to do a physical acting job, I would be pretty fucking bummed. I want to hear his take on the James Earl Jones Darth Vader.
But I would bet, much like the original Star Wars, where the actor who was in the suit did the lines in person,
Mhm.
I would assume that he did that on the day. And it wasn't like they definitely, like when the helmet was cracked open, like that was definitely him. Oh, Kevin, you're making me want a nice
Mhm.
cold beer right now.
Oh my God. I am, for the listener, drinking ice cold beer. It's delicious. Yeah, David Prowse from the original one. I just watched that clip earlier today too, and he has such like a polite little Scottish man voice.
Yeah, it's totally different.
I want the Hayden cut. I'm holding out for the Hayden cut of Kenobi. I want to hear his take on Darth lines.
Yeah.
Another one I wanted to hit you with was the Force powers. I feel like they've done a decent job with these different sequels of taking things that we thought were kind of throwaway and adopting them as like, no, we didn't fuck this up. This is part of the world. One of the big things is in the sequels, we see a pretty good mix of CGI aliens like we had in the prequel trilogy and practical effect aliens like we had in the original trilogy. It's cool. It lets you know this isn't wrong. This is just how some of the different races look. I feel like their only real recourse now for why, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan aren't using the crazy full-on force effects that we see them have access to in this show, in that battle that they have in Star Wars A New Hope, is if they somehow frame it like being more pure with the art of combat and not relying on the other force stuff and just the sword fighting is like somehow like a superior form of lightsaber battling, because otherwise it's a huge plot hole that nobody's doing crazy force shit in the original trilogy.
I mean, I think you could argue that had George Lucas had his druthers and had visual effects been a little bit more generous at the time, he might have displayed more powerful abilities. I mean, again, George Lucas is a creative, is the creative person behind, along with Dave Filoni, the Clone Wars, and there is a ton of shit in the Clone Wars that is like powerful Jedi stuff that if you were to just compare that to the original 3, you would say like, what's the deal? So I would argue that the limitations of filmmaking at the time to make it look good with the rest of the visual effects, because let's not forget, like there is a substantial amount of visual effects that was pioneered making Star Wars, like top to bottom, and
pod racing, Jar Jar Binks.
No, but even the way
big pioneers, both of them.
No, but even the way they filmed, like the chase scenes in space, like how they created the Death Star dogfight, like those were all radically new visual effect ways in which to create these scenes and make them look good, which they still do to this day, look pretty fucking good. This is 25 years before visual effects on a fucking computer was coming around.
I mean, yeah. In terms of the practical sword fighting itself, even removing the fact that they're laser swords, though, it is still a pretty calm fight, which makes me wonder if this is what sword fighting looked like in the 70s. Back in medieval times, was sword fighting just the slowest fucking thing in the world? Was everything so no,
100%. Just don't forget this, like swords weren't light. Like if you wanted to fuck someone up in the medieval times, you had a big ass steel broadsword. That shit weighing like 5 pounds. I'm guessing, and I think about this all the time when I see a movie that takes place in that era. And there's always like Russell Crowe's like, yeah. He's like waving a fucking sword over his head and I guarantee 99% of sword fights and people who were killed was like one strong blow. Like I would imagine like you would be knocked out unconscious before you were cut open because you just get hit by a giant piece of metal before you get cut in half. Like there's no way wielding those things was like elegant in any way ever.
Just a bunch of smelly people dragging heavy lumps of steel into a field.
Pretty much.
We are almost out of time here. Tim, do you have any beefs?
Do I have any beefs? Yeah, this show sucked. Yeah, this was god awful. It was bad.
Any
Dude, this
critiques,
sucked.
Tim?
What a waste of time. A critique of time. So I'm going to say my force power take is in the new series, in the new trilogy, it's a cop out for bad storytelling. They're not good writers. So they're like, what can we do? What's something shiny? Here's a new force power. Oh my God, Rey has all these new powers. Wow, but Darth Vader and Anakin are supposed to be the best, so they must have these powers too. But in like the prequels, Yoda's like struggling to keep like garbage off of these from crushing these people. It doesn't make any sense. It's all a mess.
Again,
Star Wars
Yoda's
is a joke.
800 years
It's
old.
bad now. I don't care about anything that Star Wars does anymore. I'm not going to watch whatever their next show is. That's where I'm at.
Oh my God. What a divisive episode, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in.
The sequels don't exist.
Spencer,
The
thank you so
sequels
much
don't
for joining
exist.
us.
Boycott.
What did you think of Kenobi? Did you like it? Let us know. Send us an email. Rate us 5 stars wherever you're listening. And listen to us again next week. Until then, stay nerdy, ladies and gentlemen. Bye.
Bye. Boycott the
Thanks,
sequels.
Spencer.
Bye. Thank you.